infant in the car, an 18-day-old child by the name of Lemillion McCollum. As we look back on this day and how the events unfolded through our investigation, it's been determined that the child was not in the vehicle when the car was stolen. The car, as you know, was recovered on Prosperity Lane in the Westwood area of District 3. There have been a few arrests made with the stolen vehicle. One is from the original theft of the vehicle on Hopkins Street. Both of the arrests involve a juvenile, so I won't give you their names. So one arrest of a juvenile from the Hopkins Street, the initial impetus of the run and our involvement there, and the second from a juvenile who was arrested from the scene of the crash on Prosperity Lane. From there, we determined, as you know, the mother returned to the home at 737 Hopkins Street with her child. And just looking at the facts, we determined that the child was never in the vehicle. From this investigation, apparently the mother left the home as our officers were out casing the area, the immediate area, as well as the Western Hills area, trying to locate the child. She left the home in a taxi cab, went a few blocks down the road, met with a friend who returned to the home with the child, where the child was found safe and then again returned to the mother. Through our investigators' efforts in interviewing the mother, we determined through both the facts of the child leaving and speaking with the taxi cab company, we confirmed that she left the home on Hopkins and again returned to home with a friend with the child. Those facts allowed us to determine that the mother will be charged with 3 different things, 3 counts of offenses here. She'll be charged with obstructing official business, making false alarms, and inducing panic. Obstructing official business is a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, and inducing panic and making false alarms are a felony of the 5th degree. As I said, the 2 juveniles are also charged with receiving stolen property as it relates to the stolen vehicle. So the fact that the car was stolen was true. The fact that what was reported to us that the child was in the car was determined to be false and fabricated. And again, ultimately, the child was determined to be safe and put back in the mother's custody. After the investigation, due to the mother's charges, both the child, the 18-day-old child, Lemillion, and 2 other children, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, all 3 children will be placed in custody with Jobs and Family Services as this investigation unfolds. I have to stress that this has been a very trying day for not only our officers and investigating efforts. This has yielded a tremendous amount of resources to try and locate this child, to include the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Our communications center was put on alert status to hold all non-priority runs to completely focus their efforts on locating this child. And all told, from the beginning of this event at 7 a.m. until 9:30 a.m., we did just that. We put all of our resources within the Cincinnati Police Department, the community, the media, and you were very integral in this process in trying to locate this child. We were successful in that, but at the same time, what led up to that is the reason why the mother has been charged. The mother, her name is Nicole Benton. She's a female African-American, 28 years old. She lives at 737 Hopkins Street in the West End neighborhood. So I think I've covered all the bases as far as the facts of what occurred from beginning to end. But if there are some answers or questions you have that I can try and provide answers to, I'll do that at this time.
Did she say anything about why she made this story up?
No. And I can't make any inferences or make any assumptions as to why, but she has not given us the information as to why that was not a true statement.
Was the car that crashed on near West High, was that indeed her car?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it truly was.
Did she know any of the people in the car?
I don't know that at this time. So as we get more information, we're certainly going to make that available to you but I really can't answer that at this time.
So you're saying she didn't have the child at home, the child was with a friend and she...
No, the child was at home the
child
entire
was at
time.
home.
She left her home. She actually snuck out the back, jumped into a cab with the child, went a few blocks down the road, met up with her friend, who returned the child home with the appearance that the child had been recovered at another location. The link to the indication that we have that the child was at the Walmart on Ferguson, I'm not sure where that information came from, but I think that's what she told the investigators where she returned from when she came back home.
She made the initial report with the child in her home.
That's
then
correct.
Later took the child somewhere else to make it look as if the child had been...
That's correct.
What about the person who was holding the child? Did they face any charges? Were they aware of all this?
I'm not sure if that's the, I will continue to look at the whole scope of the investigation. That's possible, but I don't know at this time if that person's facing any charges.
Is there a father involved with in the picture?
I don't know that. There obviously is, but I don't know what the extent his involvement is in this relationship.
What was the time frame of when she left with the child and came back? How long were we talking?
Sometime, I'm guessing probably 20 to 30 minutes.
So 20, 30 minutes, just to make sure you guys were gone or in the pursuit.
Right.
What does that say about somebody that would do something like that?
I can't make a comment on someone's, personal state of
Well,
mind.
it does hurt resources and it affects everybody else in the city.
Which is part of the reason she's charged with making false alarms and inducing panic. I can't tell you how many citizens stopped our officers while they're in the area of Westwood near Western Hills High School and the Ferguson Walmart asking about the child's safety. We received calls from national media on this, and as I said, we had involvement from the Federal Bureau of Investigations and other local and regional law enforcement resources, bringing all those resources to try and resolve the situation as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, it was resolved quickly, but at the same time, the circumstances that led up to that search and the attempt to locate this child was very, very extensive.
Was it just the two teens that were charged and arrested for stealing that car?
That's correct. So the initial theft of the vehicle in Hopkins, there's one individual, one juvenile from that scene, and then the child, the juvenile who was driving the car on Prosperity when the car wrecked.
Because originally you said there were 4 teens. What were their involvement?
Well, there were 4 technically. There was 3 that were in the car that wrecked on Prosperity, and the one that stole the vehicle on Hopkins initially.
So
Yeah.
the second juvenile was charged with theft as well?
Correct. It's not theft. Receiving stolen property. It's a
So
part.
it's
Yeah.
not called theft, receiving stolen property.
Yeah.
Both of them.
That's correct.
Now, there's a cruiser still outside her door. Why is that? I mean, have they arrested her already then?
She's not at the home. I believe she's in our officer's custody at the criminal investigation section downtown. So I'm not sure why there's a car still there, but she's not there.
Is the baby with family or in jobs?
No, in custody of Jobs and Family Services.
And
Yeah.
that's one of 3, did you say? I missed that part.
3 children. The 18-day-old, Lemillion, McCullum, and then 2 other children, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old.
They're all in family service.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why the other 2 teens weren't charged with anything?
No, I mean, we look at the entire circumstances and made a determination that they were not in a situation where they would be charged.
How do you spell the woman's last name? Benton?
Benton.
And on the initial incident report, Nicole is N-A-C-O-L-E, is that correct?
I'm sorry, yeah, Nacole. That's correct.
And once again, did she sneak out the back? Were police at the house at the time?
Police were in the area for sure, and they were definitely in the area of the home. She was not cooperative as far as letting officers come into the home initially, which kind of leads to our understanding of why now that we have more facts. But she called for a cab apparently, went out the back door, got in the cab and drove off before officers even detected that. And when she returned home, that's when we determined from what she initially told us that she found the child at the Walmart off Ferguson, which we now know to be a fake statement.
So when police showed up, she didn't want to let them into the house whenever she was making a call on the original. That seems suspicious to officers at that point.
I don't know what the officers thought at that point in time, but usually when we have a situation like this, we like to request the participation and involvement cooperation of the family members. So you know, again, I can't speak to what they were thinking or feeling at the time. Okay, any other additional questions? All right, thanks, y'all.
Thanks so much.
Take care.